Hello, Zhao Martins, licensed marriage and family therapist, couple therapist. Let's continue with our discussion about those parts that's getting activated by your partner's ADHD symptoms. So last week, we talked about a doctor savior part. This week, let's explore a part that's related but different, called the caregiver part. So what are the differences of those two parts? I want to dedicate this video to my love, who encourages me to explore the difference between those two parts. Let me share with you the outcome of my exploration. So a doctor savior part tends to be very intellectual. They're almost a little bit obsessed with problem solving and fixing things and people. They believe that they know better and they're right. They really want to make things better or perfect. While a caregiver part has a strong desire to soothe others, people they love, and they have a hard time bear or tolerate the suffering from their loved ones, either emotionally or physically. Let's put that into the context of ADHD impacted relationships. A doctor savior part in a non-ADHD partner can show up like this. They may be very focused on their ADHD partner's diagnosis, treatment plans, or medication observance. They are so eager for their partner to get better, and they really focus on the outcome. Well, a caregiver part in a non-ADHD partner can show up like picking up the slacks, overcompensating for their ADHD partner's shortcomings, and they tend to get burned out and exhausted. Now let's take a look at those caregiver part with the same framework from last week. We'll look at their beliefs, their position, their posture, their energy, and their deep emotions. And in the end, I will give you an affirmation that can support when your caregiver part is being activated and dominating your system. So the caregiver part believes that it is not okay for the loved ones to suffer, and it's their obligation to reduce or get rid of those sufferings so they feel okay. So underneath all that is they believe their loved ones are not equipped, not strong enough, not resourceful enough to self-regulate and self-soothe, so they have to soothe them. So the position they're taking with this belief is still pretty much one up, like the doctor savior part. But they're coming more like a parent trying to soothe a baby, believing that they're not having the capacity to self-soothe. They want to make everything okay. So when you're in this part, what is your posture? How do you hold your body? I noticed that when someone is in the caregiver part, they tend to overextending their arms forward to the point that their arms are not connected to the socket energetically. There's an overextension. Do you notice the difference when I reach out and care from the center of my body, myself, versus from a part that's a caregiver part, overreaching? When I'm doing that, I notice my weight is shifting forward. It's almost tilting me off balance. And to counter that, my back has to work extra hard I feel it in the middle of my back, the thoracic spine, and my lower back. To tilt forward, to balance, straining, to balance the weight, to keep me upright and operating. And you can imagine from this position, operating from a misaligned position is very hard on the body. And there's also energetic disconnection from here, mid back, and the lower back. It's definitely not sustainable. And that's why the caregiver parts can drain you and make you burn out. The emotions underneath all of that, there are a couple. I can think about fear. It comes from a place of caring, wanting your loved ones to be okay and their life to be smooth, and fear that they will hurt, that they will have strong emotions that's hard for you to tolerate. So a caregiver part can oversharing and overburden yourself with other people's sadness and grief. And the caregiver part actually has grief and sadness themselves. What is that? So underneath the caregiving part, which is a protector, there is a vulnerable part, a child that longs for the care and love that they desire, but did not get their needs met. And you probably know this, young children are very egocentric. So whatever happens, they believe is their fault. Say if a parent, a caregiver, is too busy or exhausted to show care or interest in the child's project or needs, the child believes, I'm not lovable. I'm not that interesting. I'm stupid. That parents, mommy or daddy don't have time for me. It's developmentally appropriate. And if the caregiver does not know this about the child, does not know how to repair and to affirm their love for the child may carry this with them, and that's a wounded part. So there's a lot of sadness about the loss of an ideal caregiver. And that's number one step to heal this caregiver part is to grieve the loss of that, the loss of an ideal caregiver. Nobody had an ideal caregiver. It's impossible. That's why Winnicott talk about the good enough mother. Well, I added to the good enough caregiver. So because caregivers are human beings and they have their needs, they will be misattunement, and there will be times that you are not available or cannot meet the needs of someone's being cared for. So if we hold on to the ideals of all my needs will be met without me speaking up, without me expressing them, that's not realistic. So we have to grieve that loss. Another emotion that can associate with the caregiver part is anger and frustration. That's when the caregiver part is already exhausting themselves and burnt out. And they still do not see the outcome they want, they desire, which is their loved ones being soothed and everything is okay and perfect for them. Because a life happens, suffering is part of life. So they cannot take away the suffering from other people. And they get frustrated and irritated and angry. Another emotion is even deeper than this, called fear. There's a fear of their loved one not being okay. There's also fear about themselves. How so? As we said, the underneath the caregiver part is a vulnerable part that needs care. And so they develop this helper, protector, to care for other people, meet their needs, so they can be kept and they feel safe. They're not going to be abandoned. They are afraid if I'm not useful to you, I'm not giving you anything, you do not need me, I might be abandoned by you. So in order to heal, they have to go back. That's the step 2. Go back to their vulnerable self, take care of that self. That part, what they need. Maybe that part of you needs ice cream today, or you take them out for a bike ride, or play Legos with them. or dance. Go see that part of you, the young child, and meet their needs instead of extending yourself energetically outward to other people. The third step of healing, the caregiver part, is to set energetic boundary and mental emotional boundary when other people trying to seduce you, induce you into being a caregiver again. You want to recognize the cue and accept that other people have their own way of healing and suffering, and they will be okay. So here's the affirmation for you. I accept and I'm okay with my loved one's suffering in life. It's okay. People have their own process of healing. All is well. Until next time.